Hey everyone, how's it going? It's I, the real Randy Chavez, coming at you today with a VeVe Omi update video. Guys, if you're new, welcome. If not, welcome back. I love you all. Everyone say hello to Dashi. Hello, Dashi. Commenting, liking, subscribing is a free way to help support the channel. Non-free ways are Patreon and smashing that thanks button down below. So today, there is a couple of things I wanted to go over. There's some things that have been mentioned over in the live streams, which I really wanted to go over right now because only X amount of people see those live streams, especially when we're like 2 hours in. One of which was how much we should expect Ecomi or VeVe or the Veveverse to make, because again, they are all separate companies. Ecomi is separate from VeVe, which it is separate from the Veveverse. I'm really curious to see where all that goes. But speaking of Ecomi, we obviously not 100% of that is owned by David and Dan. We do have, I think one of the major players is Titan Block Capital. Titan Block Capital regards Ecomi as a premium licensed digital collectibles agency. Says Ecomi offers a one-stop shop for digital collectibles through the VeVe app, bringing pop culture and entertainment into the 21st century. Ecomi sees digital collectibles as a new asset class which offers intellectual property owners the opportunity for new revenue streams in the digital landscape. Digital streaming, gaming, in-app purchasing has become a multi-billion-dollar market, and the next to join this digital trend is the pop culture and collectibles industry. So they do come off, they did invest in Ecomi, I think in 2019. I apologize. It was 1 April of 2018 and the early VC stage. The early stage VC. We're not 100% sure what the size was as far as size of the company. Anyway, the amount though was 1.59 million. And again, we're not sure how much of that company that they bought because of that. Obviously, now being a multi-billion-dollar company that VeVe is, they would have to share a little bit of the revenues with that. But again, we're just going to really focus on what to expect as a whole. As far as what will trickle down from Meta and from anywhere else. Not saying that Meta is going to be the end-all be-all, it's just Meta happens to be focusing on spending a lot more than anyone else. When you take a look at it, they've spent about $16 billion so far. They're spending about $4 billion per quarter. That will increase to about $25 billion next year. Divided by 4, it's about $6.25 billion per quarter. That will continue to go, and they'll continue to do that. They'll sustain that growth for over the next decade, which means that over the course of the next decade, they will have spent about $250 billion, Meta has said that they will do. Why would you go and you make that giant bet on something that hasn't really been proven yet? Well, this isn't the first time this has been done. It has been done successfully before by Apple. They spent about $3.6 billion on their first iPhone. Obviously, that is insanely amount, and that rate is inflation adjusted. But that amount was only a one-time thing. They didn't take that and start doing, $6 billion for the next one and $10 billion for the next one. They used the profits, they used the funds and profits from that particular initial spending raise and research and development, and they used that to make the iPhone 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to whatever it is now. In lieu of that, they'd also spent, again, $3.6 billion seems small compared to what people are spending nowadays. Tesla had spent, I think, about $25 billion. And again, how did you go and get to do that? You go and you spend a lot of money on like the Roadster or the Model S, whatever it is, and then you use most of those funds to fund the Model X or the Y or the 3 or the Cybertruck. But again, $25 billion, which again, inflation adjusted, is a lot of money, but they've been worth, Apple's worth multiple trillions of dollars, and Tesla has been worth over $1 trillion at one point. Obviously, everything's down now just because of the large recession of the war in Ukraine, everything that's going on. But the only other thing, again, that's still about 1/10 of the amount that Meta plans to go and spend. And if you're taking a look at what Apple spent originally on the iPhone, what Tesla has spent, on that new technology, electric vehicles, full self-driving, they're looking to get multiple X return on their investment. Let's just go with Tesla, because Tesla is a lot younger and a lot of this money has been spent a lot more recently. So when Tesla was over that $1 trillion market cap, again, and they'll be there again, there'll be multiple trillions. But they had, at that point, that was a 40x from the $25 billion that they had spent. So if we just take where Tesla was, not where it's going to, because they're going to be worth multiple trillions, probably $6 trillion by the end of the decade, give or take. But let's just say that it capped at 1 trillion. That's a 40x. So if you 10x that, because that's how much Meta is going to be spending, that means the Metaverse, or at least what they're poised to get, is about 10 trillion. So Facebook, yeah, that has been, I think, $1 trillion company in the past. If the Metaverse at large, not even if the 10 trillion is just Meta's portion of what they expect to get. If it's just $10 trillion at large, and I mean, what's the other competition right now? I think when you have something along the lines of spatial that a lot of people, including myself, including Brock McBlockchain, who's just on the podcast, what they seem to like, it's fun. But when you have the Veveverse, which has better graphics, better IP, and sure to be more users, it beats them. It's like that fight between Piccolo and Frieza's second evolution stage, where Krillin makes a comment. Okay, well, Piccolo is, not as strong, not as fast, and doesn't have the endurance. Every which way, Frieza's third stage wins. If we're going with VeVe versus spatial, which again, I like spatial, a lot of people like spatial, why be in spatial when you can't even do your own scripting like you can in the Veveverse, where they have its own language? You're going to be able to go and create certain things that you wouldn't be able to in other metaverses. And again, that's just one particular one. You're obviously going to have Earth 2. You already have Decentraland and Sandbox, which is okay. VeVe will surpass them. Earth 2 will surpass them. You have other metaverses. I think Polygon wants to make their own metaverse, which all of these will be interoperable, by the way. I don't think gone are the days where companies won't absorb each other. Like I said, you're going to have every single company want to have that foot traffic and that digital footprint go through them. But why would you buy another company for hundreds of millions of dollars just to shelve it when you could just make a better product and then have all the people, some people are going to be diehard spatial, but they'll still use Veveverse. Some people are going to be diehard, Wendyverse, but they'll still go into CVS's metaverse. What this is, what Web3 is about to be, is what Web 2 is, and you adapt or die. What person in, let's say just the 2010s, didn't have a website? What company did really well that didn't have a website? Probably none of them. Most everyone. Does having a website automatically make your business, 10x in value? No, not at all. Did it at first? Sure. When nobody else had websites and you can go to winelibrary.com or you can go to wherever, and suddenly that's a place where you had a monopoly on it because nobody else had it. Yes, that made a lot of sense, and you can get a lot of money being first to market, like VeVe will do. But in the next 20 years, everyone will have a metaverse. There's a reason why CVS filed for their metaverse. There's a reason why Disney filed for their metaverse. Everyone will have a metaverse. That's just what's going to happen. It's going to be just like websites. But back to the $10 trillion number that the metaverse is conservatively going to be worth, I'm taking a look at if the Veveverse is able to get 0.1% of that 10 trillion. Okay, what is 10% of that? That's 1 trillion. What is 10% of that? So 1% of that would be $100 billion. So 0.1% of that would be $10 billion, which is not bad. That's just the Veveverse, and that's if we have a fraction of a percent of what the metaverse will be. But I think more realistically, it'll probably be probably get 1% of that. $100 billion valuation for the Veveverse in the future is very, very fair. And because the Veveverse will have its own OMI utility, will have its own thing, I would reckon that, not that we stay down here, but at the end of the decade, it's very feasible that we have around 200 billion or less than that in the circulating supply. Well, what happens if we're less or at $200 billion market cap? Well, if we want to have that's a dollar. That OMI is a dollar at that point. So what does OMI get to if we just get a 1% of the $10 trillion that the metaverse might be worth? And that's just the Veveverse. That's not including what the OMI token would be. The OMI token, at that point, you'd be looking at, if it's a $1 trillion market cap, which a lot of the top 10 will be, a lot of the top 10 cryptos will be $1 trillion and above. You're looking at a $5 OMI if we have a 200 billion in circulating supply. I think we could do less. I think we could have, let's say 150, but we'll leave it at that. Leave it at conservative. Even if we don't have $1 trillion market cap, even if it's only a half $1 trillion market cap, well, that's still $2.50 for one Omi. That is a $2.50 Omi. That's bananas. So again, you can play with these numbers whichever you like. Maybe the metaverse won't be worth 10 trillion. Maybe it'll only be worth 1 trillion. Then go back down that way. Maybe we get a larger percentage of the 10 trillion. Maybe we get a smaller percentage of the one. Again, play with the numbers however you like. But this is, I think, fairly realistic compared to what Meta is spending. Zuckerberg is not dumb. You don't create Facebook and then buy Instagram, buy WhatsApp, and you don't get to where he is, and you're not doing this without a reason. So anyway, please comment, like, and subscribe. Comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. Comment down below what your thoughts are. I would say bye-bye to Dashi. Bye-bye, Dashi. I love you guys. Goodbye. Meow, 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 meow.